care too much about people who don't care about you. But let's fix that. I'm going to teach you how to detach and how to finally put yourself first. So here are some signs that you may care too much. So number one is checking their social media. And this comes up in so many different ways. Number one, if you open up your Instagram and you immediately go to their stories and you're like, what's going on, what they're doing, I need to, follow their update minute by minute, then you care way too much. Another way is if you're in a relationship with someone, or let's say you're getting to know someone and you are literally analyzing their comments, their likes, you're going through different women that they follow, you're trying to put the pieces together with a lot of assumptions, you care way too much. And you know their posting schedule by heart. You are like, oh, it's 12 noon, I know they're about to post. Then you are too attached to their social media and making assumptions without really further context. Another version of this is making excuses for their behavior. So an example of this may be they leave you unread. You sent a message and they've read your message and they haven't responded or not trying to respond. And then you start to say, oh, they're busy or they're going to finally get back to my message. But this keeps happening time and time again. Or let's say you're just trying to go on a date with this person and they keep canceling plans. And instead of you taking it for what it is, your response to them is that they must be so busy and that they must have had a good reason of why they keep canceling plans on you. And the thing about these type of things is you need to stop being their PR, right? A PR agency, their purpose is to make a crisis or make something look bad look good, but that's not your job, right? And so if you see yourself constantly being their biggest cheerleader or always trying to create some like crazy logic of why they're leaving you unread, they're not responding to your messages, they're canceling plans, and really putting in minimal effort, then you care way too much about the person. And this is a clear example that you need to detach. Another sign of this is that you're putting their needs before your own. So an example of this is that you are consistently rescheduling or rearranging your own schedule to accommodate them. And this is very classic when you're just trying to go on a date with someone and they're giving you impossible times, or they're like literally telling you the day of like, oh yeah, I finally have an hour for you, or I finally have time to do dinner with you. And you're just sitting there like, oh, okay, let me look at my schedule and try to figure things out, right? Instead of having your own schedule and sticking to it, right? Or you're canceling things that are supposed to be your self-care or your self-time in order to solve their problem. So let's say you're in the gym and you're doing your thing and then they call and they're telling you another problem again, and you quickly rush off to solve their problem instead of standing on business and literally saying, no, I'm at the gym, or this is me time and I could come to you at a later point. And then another sign is that you're overthinking everything they say, right? And this always comes out, I think, in multiple ways. You're overanalyzing their one-worded text. So if they just say, yeah, or cool, or okay, right? Instead of just simply taking it for what it is, because they just said okay, okay can mean multiple things, right? You don't know, and it's not your job to know. But instead, you're sitting there for hours trying to figure out why they said okay or just cool instead of giving you a full-fledged response. And then another example of this, and we are all guilty of doing this, right, is that they text you something or they say something over the phone, and then you start to call all your different girls and you're like, oh, I need you to analyze what this means, or why did he say this, or what did this person mean to say? And then you guys are literally sitting here like CIA agents trying to figure out what the person is saying instead of asking the person directly. And another sign of this is you are unable to say no, right? You don't know how to say no. It's not in your vocabulary, right? And if you look at your schedule and you realize like, a lot of these things on my calendar are not things that I personally want to do. They're filled with things that I just agreed to because I was just trying to be agreeable and nice. Then you definitely care too much. And then I feel like there's also a sense of guilt, right? So someone invites you somewhere, or it's last minute, or it's inconvenient, or it doesn't really fit with your time. But for some reason, you feel guilty about it, right? You feel some type of way and you're like, I don't want to say no to this person for whatever reason it may be. Now, we need to talk about why overcaring is actually toxic to you specifically. And I feel like number one, it's because it's mentally draining and it drains your mental energy more than you can ever imagine. So, if you are consistently saying yes to things you don't want to say yes to, if you're consistently analyzing texts, right? You're just in a mode of thinking instead of being, right? Your brain is literally going to be tired and you are going to just feel drained and emotionally exhausted from doing things that you don't want to do, being in places you want to be, or even spending time with people that you don't really care for. And I think the other thing is your productivity for your actual life, your life force that you're supposed to put towards things that are going to make you better, feel better, do things that are going to actually achieve your goals. Because you're so focused on this person or these things, right? You don't even have the mind to properly focus on the things that will actually move you forward in life. And I think another thing is that your mind is always somewhere else, right? Your mind is consistently thinking about them. You're literally feeling consumed with their energy, right? Like you're literally feel like, okay, what are they doing? What's happening? Why this? Why that? Instead of really just being focused on yourself. And also, you are creating a one sided relationship. And sometimes you are creating a relationship that's not even there. Okay. There's so many people that are in situationships because they created the relationship, right? And what ends up happening is when you really sit down one day to analyze the relationship, you're like, you know what? I am doing 90% of the work here. And this also applies to friendships, right? It's not just relationships. This also can apply to friends where you are consistently putting the effort. Maybe you're the one planning all the birthdays, doing all the things. You're the one calling. You're the one checking. You are the one putting in time to hang out with this person, yet they are meeting you at 10% versus them meeting you halfway. And this leads to anxiety and stress. And I feel like the number one way that this shows up is in your body, right? Because like literally you're by the phone and like every time someone buzzes you, maybe you hear a ping, a drop, you start to mentally associate those noises with the person you're waiting for, even if they're not calling you or texting you, right? And it starts to create this inner anxiety and stress that's forming up into your body, and that never leads to anything good. And then also others start to take advantage of you because they know through you're going to say yes to everything, right? And they're going to create minimal effort to the relationship. So there's no incentive for them to pull their weight or to do things for you or to meet you halfway, right? And then the other thing, which everyone talks about all the time, is that people only reach out to you when they need you. So they're like, okay, you know what? You are good when I need something from you, right? But for any other time, for the bad times, I'm not going to be there. I don't have no business being there. But if I need something from you, I'm going to hit you up because I know you're always available, you have no boundaries, and you're going to say yes to everything I tell you. Let me tell you the hard truth. You can't buy love, right? You can't care your way into getting someone to care about you. It just doesn't work like that, right? That person has to genuinely care for you, love you in order to meet you halfway, in order to put effort into the relationship. And I think a lot of people feel like, well, if I do these things for them, and if I'm always available and agreeable, and if I always show up for them, they're going to eventually show up for me. And unfortunately, it doesn't always work out like that. And you can't force matching energy because the truth is, if somebody wanted to, they would. And I literally say this all the time, especially when it comes to romantic relationships. Men know what to do, right? Women, we know what to do. We both know what to do. We're both intelligent beings. So if someone wants to show up for you, if someone cares for you, if someone wants to clearly show that there's some care and love in the relationship, they're going to nurture it, right? They're going to put effort into it. They're going to do the things they want to do. And they want to make you happy, right? Because even though a person can't make you happy, they can add to your happiness or detract from it. And I feel like people instinctively know how to make someone happy or how to add happiness to them. And so you can't force that type of energy, right? You can't say, well, if I do it for them, they're going to do it for me eventually. It doesn't work like that. But this is how you're going to detach. So number one, you are going to accept that you cannot control someone else's behavior. All right? You cannot make them, force them. There's nothing you can do about someone else's behavior. The only thing you can do is focus on yourself. You can focus on your behaviors, how you are going to show up, what you're going to do, and what effort you're going to put into the relationship. But once you understand this part, once you understand and accept that you can't control other people's behaviors, it just makes life easier and you start to see life in a whole different lens. And it's also important to accept that their behaviors are not your responsibility. And it's hard to hear this. It's really hard to hear that, look, like they did this to me, they ghosted me, and it has nothing to do with me. Yes, it has nothing to do with you, okay? Nothing at all. It's some trauma or something they're dealing with over there, but it's not for you to take on that burden. And I'm also going to need you to start to set firm boundaries, right? Is being able to say, no, I am not available. Being able to simply say that, and you don't have to explain. You really don't have to explain. If someone is like, calls you at the last minute for a date, and they're like, hey, can you meet like in 3-4 hours? No, I'm not available. Just say it like that. It's simple, right? And if they say why, you're like, it's very last minute and I'm not available, unfortunately. Like, you don't have to go into the full debrief or details, but just being able to do this is really going to help you learn how to detach from people. And also learning that you don't have to respond immediately, right? I feel like we have created this unwritten rule that all of a sudden I got to respond right now and then, right? No, take your time. Now, of course, do it within reason. Don't be like these people out here that like 24 hours later, they're responding to something. But no, like if you're in the middle of something, you're busy, you're doing something for yourself, focus on that and then respond to them in due time. And another thing you can do is start to remove yourself from some of their daily routines. So I think an example of this is their social media, right? So if you know you're the type to pay attention to every little thing they're doing on social media, you're always in their stories, you're analyzing their comments, their likes, and you feel literally attached to this person via social media, simply unfollow. And if you know you don't got the will to be constantly checking anyways, then block. Okay. And I feel like this will start to help you to, again, create some healthy boundaries between yourself and this person, especially on social media. Another thing you can do is, let's say this is a ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend, and you need to detach from that relationship, right? What you could do is start to delete their old messages, their pictures, right? It's really starting to get you to start refresh, right? And it's getting you just to remove yourself from those old situations, those memories, and start to charter a new path forward. So healthy detachment looks like when your phone buzzes, there's peace, right? You're not having anxiety. You're not like literally picking it up and like, oh, I got to see what's going on. I got to check it. You're literally just like, oh, okay, it's ringing. There's a ding. I'm still doing me. I'm doing my me time. I'm focused on myself. You're not worried about what is going on in your phone. Another sign that there's now healthy detachment in your life is that you are making decisions without checking in for them, right? You are literally making a plan. You're going about your life. You're not concerned with what the other person is doing because, like I said earlier, if they wanted to, they would. So if they want to go on a date with you, they're going to call you on time. If it is the week, they're calling you on Monday or Tuesday or even Wednesday latest, and they're setting up time to meet during the weekend, right? They're not calling you at the last minute. And even if they do, you're not concerned about that. That's not your problem. You are focused on you, your life, and your own schedule. And you're also feeling good about yourself, putting yourself first. Like you're finally at a place where you're like, you know what? I'm doing me. I got to do what's best for me. I'll give an example. So this week was Fashion Week, right? And this was the first time I participated in Lagos Fashion Week as a creator. And typically I'm like concerned about other people's schedules. I'm trying to put into everybody's thing and I'm trying to figure things out. So I'll give an example, right? This week was Lagos Fashion Week for me, and this was the first time I'm going as a creator. And typically, I'm concerned about what other people are doing. And to be honest, I was invited to a lot of things outside of Fashion Week, but I had to prioritize myself first, right? Because I'm working, I'm creating content as a content creator. This is my job. And so I had to politely say no to other people. I wanted to be there for them, right? And I feel like there's other ways I can show up for them, but I had to say no and I had to set a firm boundary. You need to start feeling good about putting yourself first, and don't be concerned about what's going on or how they're going to respond, because if they're your friend or they're your man or your girl, they are going to know and understand anyways. And the other great thing about healthy detachment is you actually have energy for yourself, right? You are finally putting energy into your goals, you're achieving them, you're crushing them. You start to form better relationships with people who care. And I feel like you start to even deepen those relationships, right? You start to create even better connections because they're putting effort into you, you're putting effort into them, and it feels reciprocal. And also, there's mental clarity and emotional stability. And I feel like this is the best part, right? You feel good. Like you're clear in yourself, in your life. You're starting to live the life you want to live. And I know for me, when I started to remove people that weren't putting in effort, it made space for my real friends, right? It made space for a person in my life that actually wants to put effort, which is my husband, right? And I really am just starting to enjoy feeling emotionally stable. My nervous system feels regulated, and I just feel like I'm finally flowing. So here are a few quick action steps you can do right now. So number one, I want you to delete that contact. I want you to delete that man that is not looking for you, not checking for you, but you're consistently checking in on them. I want you to remove them from your phone. And number two, I want you to start a new hobby this week. I know there is a hobby somewhere deep in there that you want to do, right? Maybe it's roller skating, maybe it's coloring, maybe it's playing the piano. Whatever that hobby is, I want you to put time into this week actually starting that new hobby, educating yourself around it, and really starting to pour into your own hobbies and self-care. And then I also want you to set one firm boundary tomorrow. So you're going to have lots of decisions. People are going to ask you different things, but I want you to set a boundary, right? So if that time is inconvenient for you, if someone asks you to do something that's not working for you, whatever that may be or look like, I actually want you to say no, or I want you to set a firm boundary, and I want you to finally put yourself first. Now, if you watch this video, you finally put a step forward into breaking free from caring too much. But the good news here is I got another video for you that you can watch right here about how to emotionally detach. So this video is going to go into those details about how to emotionally detach from people in relationships. And as always, I love it when you like, comment, and subscribe to my videos because I'm always trying to help you level up and really go through that glow up journey together. And then, of course, I want you to comment down below how you feel like you're breaking free from caring too much. And I'm going to see you in the next video.